Hello, everybody, and welcome to Economics Monday on the IBM TV network. Um, Here with Blake Christian and also Sasha Starr today. And so we want to say hello to our fellow viewers in Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and looks like Twitch. So we're beaming into all those places today. And the thing that we're going to actually discuss today, and we're going to be joined later on by the Honorable David M. Walker, who's the former Comptroller General of the United States, plus others. Blake, we're going to talk, and you sent me some of those things I'd like to share with the audience about how you say affordable housing in the United States. So I'm wondering, Blake, if you can actually share that on there or not.
Oh, share it on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Give me a minute to pull up the website.
Okay.
Go ahead and yeah. So in a nutshell, we have a company, MIT Modular, that converts shipping containers into housing, and so we have a Provo facility that will do that.
Yeah, because one of the things that we're looking at is affordable housing today. And here's what I've seen on affordable housing. Right now, we have our friend Uncle Joe, who's going to Scotland to discuss climate change. And so the thing is, climate change is big, obviously, because the thing is, all the countries are talking about climate change, throwing climate change down, down everybody's throats. Yet homelessness and people that are going hungry, that's being ignored. So Sasha, I know you're in Canada. I'm wondering, is this being ignored in Canada also? Affordable housing and starvation, let's put it that way. Sasha.
Well, I'm not aware of starvation at least in Ontario, and there are a lot of food banks. The only thing is that the food banks are being used these days more often than never before. So there is an indication that quite a lot of people are not so well-to-do and relying on food banks. It's not very good news, unfortunately. Now, as the housing is concerned, it is a problem at least in Toronto area. Prices skyrocketed for houses, condominiums, just any properties, and affordable houses. They are talking a lot about it. I'm not aware that something substantial is happening in that regard. And so people are trying to solve their housing problems any ways they could. They rent basements, or they rent some houses and split it over 2-3 families if they can. It is a problem here in Toronto. No doubts about that.
Okay, yeah, because the thing is, what I've seen here in the United States, though, it looks like it's very difficult, if not impossible, for people to go out and buy a house. In other words, and the housing prices keep climbing, at least in our community around the Research Triangle Park. But I also go on Zillow, and I don't know if you've checked Zillow. It's like not just in the Raleigh-Durham area, but also all across the country. All the housing prices in the United States have gone up. And what it does is it takes the ability to even buy a house out of anybody's reach today. So this becomes what I think is a major problem in the United States, is that unless you own a house, you can't afford to buy a house.
Actually, in Toronto area, or maybe in all over Canada, I'm not sure, there is a provision that any new property bought, there has to be at least 20% down payment.
Right.
Cash. So a young couple, even if they have good jobs or so on, unless parents will lend them $150,000 to $200,000, they cannot touch a house or apartment or just anything. So
Right.
only children of relatively well-to-do families can afford even to think about buying the property.
Well, that's what I've seen. In other words, the thing is, when you're looking at, like in my community, I think the minimum housing price is around $400,000. Okay, that's at the bottom end. Okay, well, you need like $80,000 in cash just to make a down payment on this. And this becomes next to impossible. Now, we do have another subject matter expert we're going to bring in, Ivan Ontz. Ivan, welcome to Economics Monday.
Hi, thank you.
Are you beaming in from the Tampa, St. Petersburg area?
I am right now in Puerto Rico with family, but my company is in Tampa Bay. Yes.
Okay, right. Yeah, I think I actually met you in one of those meetings in Tampa, but this goes back many years ago. I'm here with Sasha Starr, who's actually the head of Modern Investing, Blake Christian, who's a tax partner at Holt House, Carlin and Van Tryke, which is the fourth or fifth largest CPA firm in the state of California. And Ivan, we're talking about housing, and it seems to me you do philanthropic investing. Can you tell our panel a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, of course. So I have been an entrepreneur my entire life, and in the moment that I started creating in the investment world, I realized that many people is just investing and making money for money. And I was in that positioning that, I was feeling like empty in my heart, because I was feeling that I was investing just money for money. And I started looking for options where I can invest, but not just invest, but invest with the purpose. And that was the reason why I started philanthropy investing. You see, you have two different worlds here. You have the philanthropy world, where you have someone that is putting their money and their time, but not getting any financial exchange, no financial return, just the improvement of humanity. And you have on the other side, you have the investment world, where someone is putting their money and time, but getting just a financial return. So I created the word philanthro investor, which is someone who invests money and time to improve human welfare, engaging emotionally while making a financial return.
Hey, can you tell us a little bit about more how that works in detail?
Yes, of course. So in detail, we have multiple units. We have housing philanthropy investing, we have water philanthropy investing, we have environment philanthropy investing, and we have other industries that are coming up also. So in that sense, one day I was taking a shower, and I realized that there is many situations in the world, like I will say 1 billion illiterates in the world, more than 1 billion people that is not owning their own home, that are just tenants, 6,000 kids that are dying from water-related diseases every single day. We have 8% of the population that is living in good quality and air quality environments. We have the animal population decreasing 50% in the last 70 years. So a lot of situations in the planet. And in the other side, I research, and you know what I discovered, Nick?
What?
I discovered that on the other side, there is $450 billion going to the gambling industry every single year.
So gambling industry is doing quite well. 450 billion.
450 billion. But you
Right.
see, like, it's contradictory, because
Right.
we have, and then I continue researching, and there is 90% of investors, seasoned and new investors that are losing money in the markets. 90%.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Okay. And then I continue researching more, and I see, as a 30 plus years old guy, I look at my role models, which are the top entrepreneurs in the world, and I see, okay, we have these problems in this planet, right? And then the top entrepreneurs in the world are putting a lot of resources on trying to take us to a different planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely true. Blake, were you able to get the housing thing working?
I can pull it up. I just wasn't sure if you guys were seeing it
right now. No, I think you have to press share screen.
Yeah. Let me.
No, and then Nick, and to share more deeply, because I started by housing philanthropy investing.
Right.
And I have a video to share if you want. It's a very short video.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, yeah. Well, Blake has his up, but then get your video up and we'll go take a look at it because we're discussing housing today and affordable housing. Okay.
That would be amazing.
All right. This is pretty cool too because I saw this yesterday. So, Blake, tell us what we're looking at here.
Yeah. So Nick, what we have we bought a 20,000 square foot warehouse facility in Provo, Utah, in not surprisingly in the Opportunity Zone. So this is an ESG project. These are can be on grid, off grid, and we build these primarily affordable housing, workforce housing, homeless, emergency housing. So we take typically we like the 45-foot containers. What are referred to as the high cube, so they have about a 9.5-foot ceiling on them, so they feel very spacious when you're inside. And basically, we repurpose these used containers and build a 360 square foot living space, and can accommodate 4 people very comfortably. It's got full kitchen. This is all bamboo material, so we use very sustainable building products. These are highly insulated. I built these originally for the ski industry because we have 3,000 people come to work the lifts during winter, and so these stay very toasty. This one is all solar. And we've got a battery pack in the back, and so that's just one example. This is another one that we use for special events. It's got a rooftop deck, and these can be put on a cement base, or they can just be left on a trailer for portability. But we feel this is a very viable solution to bring down the cost. We can build these between $80,000 and $120,000. Obviously, the retail will be a little higher,
right?
But they're affordable from a rental or a purchase standpoint.
Yeah, because it's almost impossible to get anything under 100,000 anywhere in the country. I mean, that's been my research. And when I looked at this, I was going, if this is sustainable, that is such a deal. In other words, having solar and also, solar powered also as well. You can put it looks like you can put it on any lot and you're good to go. So, I think this is a great idea.
And also, with the millennials, they don't know where they're going to live in a year or two. So conceivably, they could buy something, buy a lot in LA, stick it there, and then get a job in New York and put it on a truck and take it there. Right.
Yeah. It's very malleable, but it also can solve the homeless problem in the United States. We're suffering between 100,000 and 500,000 people that are homeless in the United States. I was going, well, this is a very viable solution. Ivan, do you have your video ready to share?
Yes, sir. Okay. Let me share my screen.
You got to press share screen.
Yes.
It gets me, Blake, is that housing and affordable housing is not an issue in front of either party, the Democrats or the Republicans. It's like, let's ignore this one. They want to talk about, let's talk about climate change.
Right.
Can you see my screen, Nick?
No, you need to be able to pull it up. You have to press share screen. There's a share button.
That's what I did. Give me just a second. Oh, I see. Give me a second. Okay, now?
Oh, yeah, it's coming up. Okay, yeah, I'm going to put it up. There we go.
Let me know when I can start the video.
You can start it. We're good. We can all see it.
Would you be interested in helping families while making a cash flow of 8 to 12%? Here's how. In 1940, the average cost to own a home in America was about $3,000. That's $30,000 in today's dollars. And from the 1940s to the 1970s, as mortgage prices rose, so did wages, growing 90% in those years. But since the 1970s, average wages have risen just 12%, meaning that the cost of living has been rising faster than income for 40 years. As a result, homeownership rates have decreased. Today, the majority of Americans will never own their own home. What was once middle class is now the working poor, paying their bills on time, but barely making ends meet and sacrificing other needs such as medical care and a better education just to pay exorbitant rental prices. For nearly half of Americans, almost half of their income goes to rent. But there are others in the United States and other countries with the means to invest. Many would like to see their investments make a difference while making them significant cash flow. With the Philanthro Investor Program, it's possible. As a unique Philanthro investment system, we use industry secrets to allow investors to buy a large amount of properties in a way that also secures and protects investors' assets. Here's how it works. 1. We select, research, and purchase the best foreclosed homes across the U.S. 2. You buy a minimum of 3 of these homes for 45% below after repair value, about $120,000, and pay us $15 a month to manage these vacant properties. 3. At our own expense, we do the minimum basic repairs and put the home on the market. 4. We then find and qualify families who want to buy the homes from you on owner financing for more than you bought it for. These families will improve the homes themselves while paying tax and insurance and all maintenance costs. 5. We manage the relationship with the family for you for an additional $45 per month. 6. Families pay a $1,000 to $2,000 down payment to you, and you finance them the balance with a 12% interest rate for an average of 20 years. This is how you as an investor receive an 8 to 12% return on your investment. 7. You recover your investment in 5 to 6 years while still owning your asset. This asset will give you a reliable double-digit return, and you get to enjoy your life free of real estate headaches. One of the many advantages of our system is that through the use of these industry secrets, you have anonymity and a buffer between you as the investor and the home buyers. This is how your investment will change communities all across the country. You help children. Children of homeowners statistically perform better in school and have lower drug use and crime rates. You help communities. Homeowners invest more in their local community, volunteer more, and report a greater sense of self-control and self-worth. You make a difference, and you make money while doing it. Are you looking to make a difference while also gaining reliable cash flow, financial freedom, retirement income, and something you can leave to future generations? Speak to a Philanthro Investor consultant today. It's that easy to improve your life while improving the lives of children, families, and communities with Equity and Help, Inc.
So that's pretty good, Ivan.
Yes, right?
Yeah. By the way, did the investors, do they share in the equity portion when the property is sold? Or
Yes,
not?
when the property is sold, they get they get equity. So it's part of the deal basically.
Okay. What is their percentage of equity they have in the home when they
We'll
go
say
in with
22%.
Okay. All right. So yeah, because it sounds to me that any person that you had in these deals had to be doing pretty well the last 5 years.
That's correct.
Because it's impossible, at least this was my research around the United States, impossible not to have done well in a real estate investment the last 5 years in residential real estate, because they've all gone up.
Let me see if I can share here with you something which will be important for you to understand.
Yeah.
Give me a second, see if I have it here. Okay, yes, I have it here. If I open this, let me see if I can do this, and then I go to the other place here, which is this, and then I share screen here, but then I need to share this. Okay, let me know when you see it, okay?
Yes, I can see it. As a matter of fact, I'll bring it up.
Okay, so this is our third sheet, results for Q3 2021. We have, since we started with the company in 2014, we have recovered 47 million of assets, meaning houses that are abandoned in the banks or in auction houses and so on. We are talking about 85,000 average after repair value, but then our investors are paying 42,000 in average for that property. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of space for the investor. We have recovered an average of 500 plus homes recovered in 32 states, 274 counties, and 347 cities in the US. And then this portfolio, in average, has performed 10.87% return for our investors. And then equity is 20.21%. And then, as you can see here, this is key because the investor is selling this house to the end family, let's say for 52,000, which is 20% of equity gain. But the family is accessing to the house with 30,000 of equity in day number one. That's a philanthropic part of the model, because the investor can say, hey, I'm going to invest 10K on this house and I will sell it for 85. No, instead of that, my company invests in the house before we sell it to the investor. We improve the house, and then we sell it to the investor for 42, and then the investor sell it to the family for 52. Everybody wins. And in up to September, we have distributed 1.7 million on interest and principal to our philanthro lenders, that I call. And here is the results, you see, because our families, the top state is Illinois, then Ohio, then Indiana. So it's in the Northeast mainly, but we are in 32 states, as I say, but the top three are these three. The families are living in a home that if they rent it, it will be $1,200 a month, but they pay $573 of principal and interest and another $100 between insurance and taxes and maintenance and so on. So they live in the house for $673 a month. And and this is the relation. So 70% of the whole portfolio they are current, 21% they pay late but under 90 days, and 8% 0.69 they pay late more than 90 days. And we have a global philanthropic fund, and this global philanthropic fund, to these families that are under 90 days, if the philanthropy investor cannot support them and say, hey, I am going to give a monthly payment for Christmas, or I'm going to refinance this into the end of the loan or whatever, the Global Philanthropic Fund will come and will give the money to the philanthropy investor for up to 90 days and finance the family at 0% interest rate for 15 months.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this is basically the model, so you understand a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. So it's definitely sustainable then.
Yeah.
It sounds like. Right.
Yes.
I suspect, are many of these, are you searching out, or are they just falling into opportunity zones? Are you looking at that angle?
There is a lot of, the majority of this is in opportunity zones, yes.
Right.
There is a lot, yes.
Yeah.
And that's the model itself. And we have investors in 14 countries of the world helping these families in the US, which is amazing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Blake, on your model, okay, the thing is, you have this house that looks like it's completely sustainable. When it's sold from 80 to 120, does that include all the furniture, or is it an empty shell, or how does that work?
Well, as you can imagine, most of the stuff is built in, right. And so there's very little cost to furnish it, and again, very, very seldom would they have to buy any furniture. They would have to buy, pots, pans, that type of thing. But it's a pretty minimal cost to move in. And you were throwing out, I think, $80,000 for somebody to get into a house, and this is where they could own it. Well, pretty close to own it for that price.
Right, and the three problems: water, sewer, electricity. How is that handled?
Right. So there's at least two scenarios. One is that somebody develops a community of these, and in that case, you're going to have all of the utility infrastructure, laid out before these come in. And so then it's just a plug and play process. Others, we built the blue and white one that you saw. That one's totally off grid. It's completely solar. It's got clean water tank, gray water, black water, processing, and basically it hooks up just like an RV would. And we have a composting toilet, so you don't need a sewer system, and you would have to have somebody come in and bring in your water supply occasionally if you didn't have water there. So we have all different scenarios on who our customers are, but we're ready for that.
Right. What about?
May I ask you just one question? What about the land cost? What is?
Okay, yeah, and that's the beauty of it. Okay, so say in Long Beach, where I do a lot of work still, when California did away with some of their redevelopment program, or their one and only redevelopment program, it ended up in Long Beach itself. 800 lots that were going to be developed ended up as inventory for the city, and they sold those off for the most part to private developers. As you know, it's usually a 3 to 5 year entitlement process before somebody can build something. So we can stick these in there on an infill basis, for 2 or 3 years, and that's the beauty, because they're portable. They could sit on there, pay the landowner rent, so they get incremental revenue. The city solves some of their housing problems, and then we're also working with the church community there to put some of these in parking lots. And we're working with the city prosecutor for an initiative he has to get some of the lower end offenders, if you will, but repeat offenders, and much of it's caused because they're homeless, and partner with the churches. So they already have parking lots and things, so we can put 3 or 4 of these in there. They get some rental revenue. The city supplements some of this and pays the cost of the units. So there's a whole lot of public-private partnerships. LA City, has, which I think is a very lowball number, an estimated 10,000 homeless right now. And this is, again, for transition housing, permanent homeless housing. They're spending $250,000 a bed, by my calculations, on a bunch of projects they're working on. And we can supply, 4 beds for, 100,000, so 25,000 each. 1/10 the cost that they're spending.
Yep. We're going to be joined now by the Honorable David M. Walker, the former Comptroller General of the United States of America. I'd like to thank David for coming to this program. David, we're talking about something they're not talking about in Scotland. It looks like the world is looking at climate change, but I look at that's a problem that's going to take place way in the future. But here's a problem that exists in the United States right now, David: affordable housing. In other words, this is like front and center with at least all my research shows that if a person graduates from college, now he's looking for a house. It's not affordable. I mean, the thing is, they've skyrocketed, not just in my community research Triangle Park in North Carolina, but all across the United States. Why is it that our congressmen, they're jumping on this big bandwagon to climate change, which takes place a half a century away, where we have 100,000 to 500,000 people that are homeless, and more people they can't even get in to a home? What are your thoughts, David?
Well, there are several things. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. There's several angles. One issue is homelessness, right? I mean, that's a big issue, and that's an issue we need to come to grips with. The second issue is affordable housing, and that depends, to a great extent on where you live as to how big of a problem that is. But there's no doubt it's a problem. And right now, as we have a situation where mortgage rates are at or near historical low levels, that's driven up housing prices for a number of different reasons. And The reason that they're focused on climate change is because the activists in the Democratic Party, that's their new mantra. That's what they want to focus on. And it's not just the issue and so, yes, we have an issue with regard to affordable housing. There's no question about that. Some communities, it's a worse problem than others. But that's not where the energy in the Democratic Party is right now. Although, in fairness, this new human infrastructure bill does have housing elements in it. And one of the things that we have to debate is what's the proper division of responsibilities between federal, state, and local government. All right. And once you decide that, what should be done and how can we do it in the most economical, efficient, and effective way possible, which was alluded to a few minutes ago, which government, quite frankly, is not very good at.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I saw, is I haven't seen any creative solutions, and I hate to have Blake bring up his creative solution again, but for the people who have joined us half past the hour, Blake, if you can show us, which I think is a great solution, but government hasn't even looked at solutions. It's like they're ignoring this completely. But Blake, if you could also share what you just came up with earlier today in the program for people who have joined us late. I'd like them to take a look at this again, because I was just totally fascinated that there is housing that you can actually buy that's under 100,000. I mean, that's next to impossible new housing. So we definitely want to take a look at that. And I don't think the government is really the solution. They may be able to partner for the solution, but I don't think they're going to solve this problem anytime soon. And then, Ivan, we want to look at the philanthro investing, because at 8 to 12%, you're talking numbers that Sasha would like, okay? Especially with the low risk of principal. And I believe your investors have all done well, haven't they, Ivan,
Yes.
on the philanthro investing?
That's correct.
So,
That's correct. And the housing, and our housing is in the for our families is between 50 to, I will say 50 to 60,000 is what the families pay.
right.
Which is absolutely amazing in that sense. I have, if you allow me to, I have a 1 minute video from a family, so you can see a family.
Yeah, if you could put that on the share screen, I'd certainly like to take a look at that, because these are ways that actually could solve the housing problem. But we need to have some leadership in Washington, D.C. that leads us away from this climate change into affordable housing and hunger. I mean, it's like, let's not address these issues. Let's jump on this climate change bandwagon. Not to say that that's important, David, but I think that should be like number 3, and these should be in the front and center. But okay, let's go take a look at this. What you got?
Yes, let me share the screen here. I will just do it from here. Let me see. Yes, this one. Let me know when you see the screen.
We can see the screen. We're good.
Okay, listen. This is a real family. Okay.
Okay.
We've been here for almost 3 years now. 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years. And it's home. It feels like home. This is home. And we still, and the most fun part is we still got stuff with things that we want to do. Be more creative. Turn this into that. Move this around. We live all around. South Boston, Virginia, and then Philly. It feels good to be able to call your house a home. You know what I mean? And it's a difference. It's a very big difference to be able to paint a wall green if you like, or paint a wall brown or tan or whatever, which I have a lot of colors going on. So I work for families, taking care of their loved ones. And Harry is building maintenance. He's been with his company for 28. 26 years. So that comes in handy with this house too, this building maintenance knowledge. I've heard of in-house financing. You can see it on the internet when you go searching for like different things, but I've never heard of a program like this. That's the difference between trying to find a landlord to work with you so you can have a place to stay versus a whole company, you know what I mean, that specializes in helping home people who most likely wouldn't be able to get a traditional mortgage. So, you know what I mean? And to help them actually be homeowners. But yeah, it was a fun experience. It was, the game rooms came from the 17-year-old. I tried to be colorful. We called one room the gold room, one room the red room. So that came from my daughter. So, and then we kind of got carried away with it. Thank you so much.
Yes, muchas gracias. Right, and I think that's a great idea that you're actually helping people become homeowners where the government and the private industry isn't doing. Blake, I think we're ready. Let's go take a look at what you have. I thought this was pretty great.
Yeah. So again, for the new viewers, we convert shipping containers into housing. So what you're looking at is a 45-foot container with a 9.5-foot ceiling. So when you're inside, it does not feel cramped at all. And we use all sustainable products, which in the kitchen, that's all bamboo material. And actually, that's part of our business model. We do plan on actually processing bamboo into wood products as part of our sustainability initiative. And so again, you can see it's pretty roomy. We have a battery pack. This particular one that you're looking at is a off-grid, so it has a very powerful solar element to it. But anyway, it's very, very livable. It's built for 4 people. And we build these for workforce housing, emergency housing, just affordability. And also we have a retail element too. So small businesses can kind of start on a shoestring. You could put one of these in a strip mall in the parking lot, and somebody could have a coffee shop. They could have a dry cleaners, a tailor, you name it. So
What's the width?
They're very standard. It's basically 8 foot wide.
Okay.
And so you have 20-foot containers, 40, 45, and 54. And about the only difference in them is the height. Some of most of them that you see are 8 foot. Again, we try and use the 9.5 just because it gives us a lot more flexibility and more roominess.
And can you transport these all throughout the United States?
Stick them on trains. And
right.
our production facility in Provo is in the rail yard, which is great for both supplies and then shipping these out. And you can stick these on any 8-foot or 18-wheeler, and be at your destination in 24 hours pretty much.
Really?
And what's the cost?
Our costs, we have like super stripped down models for like emergency, purposes that, we can do those for 50, 60,000. For the livable ones, those typically our cost is going to be somewhere between 80 and 120. And then, we try and build in a 25% profit margin. Our model is actually, it's a mix of which we're fine tuning of, we want to have a certain percentage of sales, but also lease, probably a minimum of 40% of these a year, because there's a huge demand just for people to lease these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the thing is, you could actually put these in Florida then? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, the prototypes you're looking at were built for Park City, Utah.
Right.
And it was 0 degrees out when we were showing these, and it was a pretty comfortable 70 degrees inside.
Are they all solar, or do you have some solar and some
No. I the solar drives up the cost quite a bit. So
yeah.
we did that just to show, because that was the biggest impediment, is people would say, "Oh, well, we don't have utilities."
Right.
And so we'd say, fine, here's the off-grid version, and
Okay. So the thing is, the off-grid version
Yeah, I
can
wish
be
the people in Washington knew that the solar drives up the price quite a bit.
yeah, well,
They don't seem to understand that here in Washington.
They don't understand cost in Washington, David. I'm afraid
right.
not.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to have the battery and you have to have all the solar stuff on that. But it also takes, there are certain places you have to be off grid. You just don't have the electricity
No,
connection.
you have a choice.
Yeah, so you have a choice to actually
Right.
buy these off grid or on grid.
Right.
Yeah. Ivan, are you still able to even buy houses in the United States for less than 50,000? I mean, my research is that I go, if you're buying homes less than 50,000, that's hard to do. Are you still able to do acquisitions in that?
Yeah.
My research shows buying anything under 100.
No, this is how it goes, Nick. How it goes is that we have the list of houses that comes from the banks and auction houses and so on. And
Okay.
so this list that comes, we filter them into our own software, and as we filter them.
Oh, you just went, you muted.
Sorry.
Okay, you're good now. Okay, go on.
Then the main thing is that we receive, I will say, around 1,000 homes per week from different banks and auction houses, and we filter them through our software that leave us with the top 20 properties in the week, and then we buy 5 to 10 per week. That is our numbers right now. But yeah, so from 1,000 we come to 5 to 10 a week. So you understand the level of quantity, and we really cherry pick, and we have a proprietary technology software that we've been working for years with our CTO that actually does very well filtering to find the best assets for our philanthropy investors.
Right. And then the thing is, you're able to, do you obtain conventional financing, or do you have the philanthropist do the investing, or how does the financing work?
Yes, the philanthropy investor is the one that he's investing himself, either with cash or with his IRAs or his 401k. And he's self-directing his IRA into supporting these families. And he's becoming a philanthropy lender that is making 8 to 12% a year, while the families are living in the homes for $500 a month.
But is there any conventional financing being done, or it's all done by the philanthro investors?
It's all done by the philanthropy investor, and then we work in a program with the families to put them into, to improve their. We report their monthly payments to the bureaus, so their credit score can improve, and so on. And then in the future they may refinance out and then pay off the philanthropy investor, and the philanthropy investor can help another family. And we are doing this every single day.
Okay, right. And you eliminate the bank fees for financing. That's what it sounds like.
No bank fees.
Which is a big savings. Now, Blake, in your program, or are banks, or will they finance on these properties that you're putting up, these containers?
The traditional banks are not quite there yet, but there are definitely funding sources for these. And but it's coming around. When we first started this about 3 years ago, there were only about 8 counties in the whole U.S. that would allow you to live in a shipping container, and now it seems to be the best idea ever when it comes to these government agencies, because they, out of desperation, they're like, we need to house people. This is a reasonable solution. And so now, I don't even have a county count now, but I'm sure it's over 100. And that was part of the problem with the financing. But it's lagging, but I think we'll be there in a year or two.
Yeah. David Walker, what is the government's solution to the homeless problem, where you have 100 to 500,000 people in the United States that are homeless, and people that can't afford to even buy a house, because, like I said, most of the ones I've seen are over 100,000. David, what is the government solution, or is there one?
Well, I mean, look, I think the solution needs to recognize that it's a federal, state, and local issue, that the government's not going to solve the problem, but the government can end up helping with regard to financing. The government can also help with regard to, facilitating, the creation of places for these types of homes to be able to be placed and be acceptable, if you will. I think we need to be looking at this not just with regard to affordable housing for mainstream Americans, but we need to be looking at it with regard to the homeless situation as well. I mean, I don't know how your numbers benchmark against, for example, I'm trying to think of the name of the program that Jimmy Carter was so much involved with coming out of Atlanta, which is affordable housing.
Was it Habitat for Humanity? Habitat for Humanity. Right.
I don't know what the economics are for Habitat for Humanity. Okay. But part of the issue is you're talking about non-traditional housing, which I think is very creative and very worthwhile. But you've got the issues of permitting, you've got the issues of financing, and a variety of other issues you got to come to grips with, because by definition they are non-traditional.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They are non-traditional, but unless you have some sort of program out there.
And so government can help in that regard, right? And the private sector be part of it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't want the government to be running a program. It would never happen. It would never happen. The government's very risk averse. It's it's very bureaucratic. It's very reactive.
No, if anything, they're in the way, because the problem is, like I was talking to Blake, okay, I've got properties down in Florida. I would love to put these things on, but I've got to clear everything with the state and local authorities just to do it. In other words, it's not like, I have vacant lots in Florida. I could put these on right now, Blake, but I got to go to the authorities to make sure.
In some jurisdictions, though, they like LA. If you leave them on wheels, right, then they don't have any jurisdiction. And it's your property. So we can put nice skirts around it so you don't even see the wheels.
See the wheels.
We're also looking at just a very low profile, something that we can just stick it on wheels, so it's legitimately on wheels, but it wouldn't be like highway safe. But at least it's a workaround. So there's again, we've got a lot of solutions for that. But I apologize. I have
to go, Blake. Right.
Great comments.
Thank you.
And good discussion. Talk soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. All
right. We'll see you later. All right. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I just don't see that. I know they're discussing climate change and they got all the world leaders looking at this, David, but we have two problems in the United States that are right now, not 50 years in the future. One is the homeless problem, 100,000 to 500,000, depending on whose statistics you're looking at. And that's a big problem. The other one, of course, is hunger. And hunger in the United States is completely ignored. We're hoping to do another program shortly on Economics Monday relating to hunger, because it's almost like, hey, hungry people don't count. Homeless people don't count. And even worse, people that are working, like what Ivan's showing, they can't afford a home because the housing prices are completely out of range for the average worker. I don't see that stopping. And if that doesn't stop, then and I think your program, Ivan, shows the problem. Wages aren't keeping up with homes. Who can afford a home in where you're at in Washington, D.C., David? Or around the Washington, D.C. area?
No, it's a real problem. Listen, I wish we only had two problems. I mean, you've talked about two of the problems that are acute. But we have many more than that. To solve these problems, it's going to take a public-private partnership. The government has a role to play with regard to permitting, with regard to financing, with regard, a piece of financing, if you will. But innovation comes from the private sector. We heard an example of, there are certain jurisdictions that if it's on wheels, that it's okay, but if it's not on wheels, it's not. And so therefore the private sector does workarounds, if you will. I mean, I'd rather they not have to do workarounds. I mean, we ought to be looking at at changing the zoning requirements and things of that nature, so you don't have to do workarounds. But you're going to get the innovation and creativity from the private sector. As you said, the government sometimes just gets in the way. That's the reality.
Yeah, but why is this issue not even addressed? I mean, this is the thing that gets me, is that I know we have a lot of problems, but if you think about it, the basics of living is you need food, water, and shelter, right?
Right, that's right.
Okay, right. Okay, and these are being ignored, and we're pushing climate change. And what about food, which we're going to get in later on one of our economics programs? I think that's being ignored. Housing, this thing isn't working. And then water, well, I think that's also an issue in certain states right now. In other words, we're showing
a bigger issue. Water is the most precious natural resource. You go to the Middle East, they'll trade you a barrel of oil for a barrel of water, fresh water, any day of the week.
Right.
It is becoming an increasingly challenge. In fact, it is likely to be the source of the most conflict in the future, is the lack of fresh water.
Exactly. And the thing is, out west, it is an issue right now. Okay, they're losing water. Yeah, and the thing is, and this is what I'm saying, the U.S. government is asleep at the wheel here, and they're running off into all these different directions. How much they're going to spend on climate change, and then they're totally ignoring the basics, which is food, water, and shelter. Because once you solve this, then you can solve a lot of these other problems. But it seems to me that these three issues that should be front and center. Then you can put climate change number 4.
Well, the fact is the poll just came out, and I'm going to turn it over to Sasha here. The poll just came out that over 70% of Americans, including a significant percentage of Democrats, I think over 50% of Democrats, believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction, and that we don't have the right priorities.
Right.
And there will be an accounting for this in the 2022 elections. And of course, we have a very big election here in Virginia, where I live, tomorrow for governor, which could well be a bellwether to how bad it's likely to be. It's going to be bad in 2022. The question is, for the Democrats, the question is how bad. Yeah,
I just don't see the leadership right now. So with you,
that's the biggest deficit we have as a leadership.
Yeah, leadership deficit. We're going to also do one on economics Monday on leadership. Sasha, you're next. Then
what I wanted to say is that there is a huge difference between issues as food, water, and shelter, and climate change. The difference is being that all three problems, food, shelter, and water, could or should be solved logistically from the ground up by local businesses or governments, or combination of both. It's not a global problem. It's each community has to solve this problem on its own. Climate change is a global problem. Now, what I heard lately is that European Union allocated $40 trillion to deal with this problem. It's more than US and China economy put together. This is a crucial issue for generations to come. And it has nothing to do with the food shortage or water or living premises such as accommodation, apartments, condominiums, or whatever you might talk about it. There are trailer park, for example, available option for those who really need to live somewhere, and there are ingenious ideas of Ivan, what he just presented, or Black before, great options. So there are ways to solve it. Climate control. No country in the world can solve that individually. No continent can solve it individually. It's the efforts of all community. This is why I wouldn't say that the funds that needed for housing and water and accommodation are being taken away from the climate. Not at all. It's two different perspectives, two different problems altogether.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. They're very different problems. We can do everything that we want to do on climate, but if everybody else doesn't play, including China and India, you're not going to
Doesn't matter.
solve the problem.
Right.
And the other thing we have to keep in mind, which most Americans don't, I've had the good fortune, and I know most people probably on this session have, to have traveled to over 100 countries, every continent,
Yeah.
every state. You don't know how good or bad you have it until you have something to compare it to.
Mhm.
And we have some serious issues that we got to come to grips with. But the fact is, on a relative basis, we're a lot better off than most places in the world.
Right.
The other thing is, I would respectfully suggest that climate does have an impact on food production, on agriculture. It clearly does. All right. But other than that, I would agree with Sasha 100%.
Thank
Right.
you.
Yes. Ivan, some concluding remarks, please.
Yes, and that's a very good what you're talking about, Nick, because as I told you, is that when I launched Housing Philanthropy Investing in 2009 in Argentina, originally where I was born, and then I moved to the US in 2012, and in 2014 I launched Housing Philanthropy Investing. But then in 2019 I had this revelation that the philanthropy investor concept and brand was not born just for helping families live in their own homes. I discovered that 6,000 kids are dying from water-related diseases every single day. I discovered that 80% of the water is released untreated in the world. I discovered that the US only recycles 1%. And I discovered that the budget for water infrastructure in the next decade is only 40 billion. And the US, in order to make it work, it needs 300 billion. But the budget is only 40 billion in the next decade for water infrastructure. And the infrastructure is crumbling, right? So if you allow me to share a short video, I will.
We'll have to allow you on our next program, Ivan, because
Yes,
we have to
yes.
go. We got another show coming up. Yes, David, before we
One
leave.
quick thing. There are two bills that are being debated right now. The critical infrastructure bill, which includes some things for water, for clean water, that needs to be passed. It should have been passed a long time ago.
Right.
And the human infrastructure bill, which is a massive expansion of government, is a whole different story.
Right. Yeah. And with that, we'd like to thank everybody for listening to Economics Monday around the world. We'll see you next week on Economics Monday. Leadership or hunger, we'll figure out by next week. Take care. We'll see
Bye,
you.
everybody.